HR Club Talks, podcastul celei mai mari comunități de profesioniști în resurse umane din România. Powered by Interact.
Salutare, sunt Mădălina și ca de fiecare dată mă bucur să te regăsesc la un nou episod de HR Club Talks. Episodul căruia tocmai ai dat play este susținut de Interact, unul dintre principalii furnizori de training și consultanță din România. Misiunea lor este să susțină transformarea prin cunoaștere, experiențe, dezvoltarea abilităților de leadership, noi perspective și schimbări de paradigmă. Care este cel mai important lucru pe care îl poate oferi HR-ul unui angajat? Toți cei care am avut ocazia să-l cunoaștem și ascultăm pe Dave Ulrich am rămas impresionați atât de know-how-ul valoros pe care îl oferă cu generozitate, cât și de empatia, atenția cu care ascultă fiecare interlocutor și sfatul pe care îl oferă și mai ales de căldura pe care o emană de fiecare dată. Acest episod este unul special, un dialog reconfortant între provocările momentului și viitorul HR-ului. Participă la această discuție Andreea Voinea, director Executiv Resurse Umane în cadrul BCR, Mădălina Racovițan, Head of People Services and Partner în cadrul KPMG România și părintele HR-ului modern, Dave Ulrich.
I would start the discussion looking at the Ukrainian situation and then more into what's our role, as HR, in this, turbulent times from all points of view, like changing times. Like everybody else, I'm sure you deal with a lot of HRs around the world. The last 2 years were quite challenging for us in terms of the support we needed to offer to our colleagues during the pandemic period. For us in Romania, and I think for everybody, but in Romania, given the proximity to the Ukrainian war, for us, this creates, as we said earlier, before starting our podcast, creates a lot of uncertainty and anxiety also for our people. And I would say, I would dare to say even Romanian society at large. As Mădălina and Dana, I think, mentioned to you, during the last months, we as a community HR club, through our members, were quite actively involved in different things, like the jobs for Ukraine, you asked how you could help, we have today, for instance, as of today, we have around 1,200 jobs posted. Some of them are not only from Romania, they are from other European countries and even from the US. If there are some opportunities that, especially like highly skilled jobs and all that, there are people out there. We have around 2,000 candidates already, who applied on this platform, Ukrainian candidates, as I said, usually highly skilled people who, in all fairness, several weeks ago, they were having a life in corporate world, and now they are, in this situation, and they are looking actively for jobs, and they even say, about their flexibility about location. So through your contacts, give access to the platform to some of them, about the contacts that you have, they can have a look if some of these profiles could be of interest to them. What we have done also in the last weeks, we have also lobbied for a rapid change of legislation to allow the Ukrainian refugees to work in Romania. And we do, I think 2 weeks ago, Mădălina, we passed a government ordinance allowing these people to work in Romania without going through the standard immigration process for 9 months, which is a great achievement because if they are fit for the jobs we have, they could be easily integrated. We have put together packs of info for these people, for Ukrainians, how to get a job, what steps they have to go through. We have already been in touch with the HR association in Ukraine. A couple of days ago, she connected with the team in Ukraine. I think they are currently in Istanbul, asking how we can support them during these difficult times. And what I found quite impressive is that a lot of companies, a lot of our members and people, working for the companies who are our members of our community, they granted additional days for these special circumstances for volunteering, volunteering days to their people to support the refugees. And personally, I was extremely impressed to be honest, about the high degree of involvement and mobilization among the people in our organizations who volunteered to help during this time. Amazing spirit of solidarity, and it's also a lot of, I would say, definitely very sad times, but also positive energy that we can use to the benefit, of the community as a whole. I was extremely impressed, honestly, how people mobilized during these times. So I know this topic is close to your heart, and you offered so openly to help and ask how you can contribute to that. I wanted to see how do you see, what other ideas do you have about how we as HR professionals can support this humanitarian crisis during this period? I told you some things we are doing already. What other directions do you think we could look at, as a community, as HR community?
Let's talk about some of those. Let me begin with a deep expression of respect and gratitude for you, not just you personally, but for you collectively, the HR community in Romania. The last 2 years were pretty difficult. We were working at home, we were through technology, and then you put on top of that this horrible invasion and the refugee crisis. And so let me express on behalf of everybody I know, gratitude and a deep respect for the challenges you're facing. So, and as I shared briefly, I have the privilege periodically of connecting with HR professionals around the world, not just in Romania and Poland and Estonia and Eastern Europe, but throughout Europe, throughout Latin America, throughout North America, throughout Asia. And there is a community of HR professionals worldwide who frankly are thinking about you. They don't know your names, they don't know your faces, and I wish they would, who want to serve you. And so one of my messages to those in the HR club in Romania, don't be afraid to reach out. We have families we reach out to. We have colleagues at work we reach out to. But you as an HR professional in Romania are part of a global HR community. I'm so proud of this community. The world came together to condemn Putin. The United Nations vote was 141-5. That's an unprecedented vote of condemning the aggressor. The HR world is coming together to serve you at an even higher level. It's 100%. And so for those listening, don't be afraid to work through the HR club with Andreea or Mata or Donna or somebody. Reach out or through me and get help. So that's one. I'll say that with all candor and all love and affection for what you do. The second is sometimes out of the worst in life come the best experiences. Sometimes out of the worst in life come the best. My wife, who's a very good psychologist, often does an exercise, and she says, think of a time when something didn't go well in your life. It could be at work, it could be her health, it could be your family, it could be a relationship. And I actually did this exercise this week with a group in person. Don't tell me what it was. I don't want to know, but raise your hand. And everybody raised their hand and said, yeah, there was something that did not go well. For me, I ended up losing a job that was important to me. At the time, how did you feel? And all of us can reflect. I felt horrible. I felt unable. I felt left out. I felt like I couldn't do anything. And at the time of that emotional crisis, that it could be physical, social, emotional, it's tough. And then the next question is, what did you learn from that experience that has affected your life today? And so the gloom that we all feel in these horrible experiences can be replaced with a little bit of hope and optimism. For me, losing a job, I learned what job matters most to me. I learned the skills that I had, not the skills that other people wanted me to have. I learned that I controlled my destiny. Nobody's going to tell, by the way, I don't want to get off on me. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. And that has changed my life. So even in the midst of this trauma, which is so recent and so painful, I hope everybody's able to think and reflect, out of the worst of these times come the best. And some of the best is the service we do to others. So that's some background. Now let's talk about what can HR do to help. Let me suggest 2 or 3 starting points, and then we can have a discussion as far as you want to go. I'm going to start in a funny place. Take care of yourself. It's a funny place to start. We did a webinar last week, and I hope people will access it. We'll send you slides if you want slides. They can flip through slides. My wife, who's a very good psychologist, and I started thinking of all the HR policies, the website, the physical space, the job training, and my wife said, Dave, don't start there. You cannot help other people until you're caring for yourself. So my first thought with all the HR people I'm talking to, take care of yourself. I don't know how you do that. I hope it's not drugs. I hope it's not addictions, but find a way, and that may be physically, exercise, sleep, which I'm sure is so hard for many right now, nutrition, the body. Take care of yourself socially. Hug your children, hug your partner, have a relationship, reach out, form networks. Take care of yourself emotionally. If you're feeling discouraged or depressed, run into it. Face it. If you're feeling anxious, face the energy. Take care of yourself spiritually. Find meaning and purpose. That's not a religion, but it's recognize what's meaningful to you. So my first advice, by the way, if I were coaching each of you or if I were coaching those listening, take care of yourself. Because until you take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And when we're so overwrought and by the way, we've all been there. I have been sometimes so stressed and so overwrought that I act badly. When you're meeting with people, just listen. Don't build big programs and projects. Just, how are you? What's going on in your life? What's happening with your loved ones, with those refugees? What's happening with those loved ones you may have left behind, the men that couldn't come with you? What did you leave? How are you feeling? And take time to listen so that they feel heard and understood. Number one, take care of yourself. Number two, take care of others. And then I'm going to stop now and get a response. And then I think we can get into some of the HR policies. We can get into what do we do to hire people, to train people, to help those refugees. And there's so many innovative things going on. You've listed some. The work you've done with the government passport, 9 months to 9 days to get people opportunities. The technology, jobs for Ukrainians. I can brainstorm 10 other things that I've seen, but I'm going to stop right now. I want to start take care of yourself so you can take care of others. Let me give one example of taking care of others. Business leaders, not the HR. Well, I'm going to stop. I'm going to give you a theory. So I'm going to try to have a little fun in a serious conversation. If I hold up, HR provides value for 3 stakeholders. My fingers, and this is not, I don't know if this is video or voice, my fingers represent the people. So one by one, we take care of people. My fist represents the organization. When I'm in HR, I care about the people, one by one, the individuals. I also care about the organization culture, the system, and the combination, my fist and my fingers together, is leadership. Take care of all 3 of those stakeholders. Take care of the individuals one by one. Take care of the organizational policies and systems, and take care of leaders. I'll just make one comment on leaders. The business leaders we serve in your bank, in the government, in a small company, we need to help care for them, to become their caregivers as well, to remind them, go sleep, go exercise, go take care of yourself, take care of your family, and then to coach them. Inspire others. We have a great example in Ukraine right now with Mr. and Mrs. Zelensky. It's not just him, it's her as well. Demonstrating leadership by stepping out, being public, being visible, being empathic. We can coach those, we in HR can coach our leaders to take care of themselves as well as others. So I've shared too much. Take care of yourself, take care of others, for the people, the organizations, and the leaders within your organization.
Wow. This is so powerful. I mean, and so important. Taking care of ourselves so we can take care of others. It's a very good insight because I have the feeling a lot of times we HR people, we forget to take care of ourselves. And if we are okay, then we are in a better position to take care of others. Being it, as you said, people, organizations, and leaders.
What do you do to take care of yourself?
I do a little bit of all the things that you mentioned. I try to exercise 3 times a week. I do that at 9 p.m. Unfortunately, I should do that in the morning. While I'm watching a movie, multitasking, I do get 8 hours of sleep. This is something important that I learned quite some time ago. And I'm trying to be good on nutrition as well. I don't eat any sugar for a number of years now. During the week, I'm trying to keep the intermittent fasting, like eating within 8 hours. I never manage during the weekends because of dinners and all that, but during the week I try to be good. So with my child, I try, like the weekends, no matter how stressed, and I think it's very important for all of us to take positive energy from the interactions with my husband, my son, and friends as well. I think it's it's not easy, especially the last 2 years were not easy for us, but definitely, it takes discipline.
I love, and what I was trying to do as an example is in this podcast model, by my asking you, your answers were so powerful and they just reinforced that that's what's done. That I call my mother, who's 93, and check in once in a while. I call my children. I meditate. Somebody asked me the other day, what book would you recommend in business? And I said, I would never recommend a business book. Go read a novel. Go read something fun. Go to a movie. And again, the point is we can help people. It's okay to exercise. It's okay to take time to read a novel. Anyway, so thank you. That's where I wanted to start, because I think if we take care of ourselves and encourage others to take care of themselves, I think that becomes, we model in HR the values that we want others to have. That's not easy.
I would take the next topic, and because you both mentioned that we are after 2 years of pandemic, where the world of work has dramatically changed from what we knew before the pandemics, before COVID. And after 2 years, I think what we see, at least in Romania, but I'm sure in other places of the world, is the same. Companies are trying to transition somehow from the full remote working to a more hybrid type of working. Companies are trying to get people slowly back into the office, but on the other hand, we see that people don't necessarily want to be in the office full time. So it's probably, we all think that the hybrid work is here to stay. And this also is, let's say, compounded with other trends in the world of work. We have this great resignation phenomenon, which started probably in the US, but we see it more and more present in other countries in Europe and also in Romania, maybe not at the same level, but still, we see a movement in the market of people leaving companies and joining others. Then I think related to this is the trend of globalization and the globalization of talent pools, because, once remote working is available, a lot of companies realize that they can actually access talent pools outside their own countries. So there is a globalization of workforce and labor market. And then the so-called Uberization of the workforce, where more and more people, try to or want to go into project-based work, and they don't necessarily want to have a 9-to-5 type of job. So in this, I know I listed a lot of trends affected the labor.
You just said beautiful. Let me try to pull back and deal with those trends and others. I often ask a question, and I won't embarrass you by having you answer. What's the best thing we in HR can give an employee? A sense of belief and purpose, 1. An ability to grow and develop, 2. Become better, believe, become, or a community, belong. Believe, become, belong. All the above, or none of the above. And as I do that question, everybody answers all the above. I want to give an employee believe, become, and belong. I want to help them feel purpose at work, grow, be a part of a community, all the above. And my answer is that's wrong. That shocks people. Let me tell you where I think HR is headed, and it affects what you just talked about. The best thing we can give an employee today is a company that succeeds in the marketplace. Let me say that again. The best thing we can give an employee is a successful company. Because if the company doesn't succeed, the restaurant, the hotel, the technology firm, and they fail in the marketplace, there is no workplace. There is no employee. And so the lens that I want to look at for HR is, what can we in HR do that helps our company succeed in the marketplace? That mindset changes. It changes the way I think. Everybody's excited, for example, about hybrid work. Where am I going to work? My comment is, I don't care where you work. What I care about is, did the work you do help your company succeed in the marketplace? At KPMG, you have employees. At the bank, you have employees. They're working in a coffee shop. They're working at home. They're working in an office. Here's my question. If I ask each of those employees, what did you do today that will give a customer a better reason to have us as a supplier. I didn't say that well. What did you do today that will help a customer? And if the employee says nothing, then I say, you didn't do a good job at work today. I don't care if you worked at home. I don't care if you worked in an office. I don't care if you worked in the car or a hotel. Did you create value for a customer? That mindset for me changes the debate. Should we be hybrid? Should we be home? It's less relevant than it is, did we create value for a customer? Now, underneath that, we create value for a customer when we come together to be together because we're cohesive. So anyway, that's the first piece, is that are we creating value for a customer in the work that we do? The second piece is that you referenced, it's just so good, is the great resignation. Why do I stay at a company? Because I'm helping somebody get better, because I'm helping them improve. And the thing that we're seeing out of the last 2 years, and you've both mentioned it so brilliantly, is personalization. Let me describe it conceptually and then get it very pragmatic. I'm old. I'm sorry, but I'm old and I can't do anything about that. But my wife and I, frankly, we have no children at home. We have a fairly nice house, and the last 2 years were difficult for us, but not impossible. Our children have children, and the last 2 years were really difficult for them. Our daughter had to quit a job to homeschool her children. Our other son, he stayed at work, and his wife stayed home to work with children. Everyone I know found their own way to cope with the last 2 years. We had a personal relationship. I hope companies recognize the personalization going forward. What can we do to help you contribute value to a customer in a way that works for you? That may be coming to an office 2 days a week or 3 days a week. That may be working at home. We will find a way to create an organization that works for you. And when we do that, you probably don't want to leave. One of the elements of that organization that we're finding, and it's avoiding the resignation, is you want to work with people you enjoy working with. You want to be part of a team. And so one of the things we've advised in the personalization, what do I want from work? I want purpose, meaning I want to grow and I want to belong. When you come to the office, don't do work you could do at home. Come together to be together. Don't come to the bank and then go sit in a cubicle and never talk to anybody. That you can do at home. When I'm in the bank or when I'm in a KPMG office, talk to people, visit with people, share with people. Now, those two principles, one, add value to the customer wherever I am, and two, personalize the work relationship so that we can make that work. And I hope in HR we can begin to manage that in a positive way. That takes care of our people, and it also begins to build the right culture that will last over time.
It's quite interesting what you shared with us, Dave. I think it's all about, the experience that we offer to our employees, which of course, but in order to offer the right experience to our employees, we first of all need to listen to them and to really understand
right, well said.
what they are looking for or what they need actually. Otherwise, we just offer stuff and we throw stuff at them which they don't actually value at all.
I love that, because we often, one of the stories, that personalization story in a crisis, and I don't want to focus only on the crisis, you've got to give people a choice. I saw the story and it's such a great story that's been exampled. A young girl came across the Ukrainian border and the humanitarian aid people said, it's cold. We have a jacket for you, a heavy down jacket that's very warm. But they didn't do that. They said, here's the heavy down jacket, and I have a picture of this, and here's a pink, beautiful sweater. Which one would you like? And the 10-year-old girl reached out to the sweater. By the way, I love that metaphor, because I'm the humanitarian aid person. I'm going to give you a jacket to keep you warm. She wanted the pink sweater. By the way, they gave her clothing underneath it so that she was warm. When we give our employees a choice, what would work for you? What can we do? Now, you've also got to give them an obligation to add value to the customer, because it is, my choice is I would like to be paid and never work again. Well, that's not going to work. But what can we do for you so that you can add value to a customer? By the way, that story of this sweet girl, and you can all envision this sweet girl. Here's the warm jacket I want you to wear. Here's the beautiful pink sweater. And she reaches out for the pink sweater. That's the choice issue. I love that metaphor. And that's what we want to give our employees so that they can create value for a customer. It's not a choice without a consequence. And I think if we can do that, I think we're going to find employees come up with choices we didn't consider. For example, one of the groups I saw recently said, again, back to the examples, we have women coming across the border with great skills, but they also have an obligation to care for children. So here's what a company did. They said, we're going to hire 12 women to work in this office. 10 of them are going to do the work. 2 of them are going to be caretakers for the children of all 12. And so we'll divide the pay. The pay is 100. We'll divide the pay not across the 10 women working, 10 each. We'll divide it across the 12, 8 each. 8 into 100 is 8 each. 12 into 100 is 8 each. And 2 of the women will use our office space to care for the children of all 12.
Beautiful.
What a creative idea. What a creative idea. So these 12 women who knew each other in the Ukraine, in a city or village, 2 of the women are now watching the 15 or 20 children. The other 10 are working and they have a job. I don't know how long that job will last, but they have a job. They're all getting paid and they're managing this tension between work and children that works for them. That's the kind of example that I get excited about that, because I think out of this crisis will come innovative work arrangements that we've never seen before. And that's one that's there. By the way, in the old world, the companies would say, well, you pay for your child care. We'll just hire those 10 people. No, we're going to include that as part of the compensation. Yeah. And I love that kind of creativity, because it begins to show what we can do in HR to give the 12 women jobs, 10 are working, 2 are watching children. That's what they need. Okay, that's the kind of service that I hope, and creativity that I hope we can see HR beginning to do. The other is a lot of companies with remote work the last 2 years, and I don't know Romania well, but in Poland and Estonia, have empty office space because people have been working remotely. We're going to open that office space. You ran a business in the Ukraine. It could be a search business. It could be a technology business. It could be a food business. We're going to give you office space. We're going to give you free office space so that you can set up your business in our office space. In the bank, we're going to allocate the 30% empty office space to you, and we'll try to give you a space. You asked for examples, and I'm going to try to give some. A lot of the people coming across the border don't know the skills they have. It may be language. It may be skill-based. It may be emotional-based. The bank, we have a training center. We do great training. We're now going to open the training center from 6 at night to 10 at night. And the trainers who are so good in our company are going to do language training, emotional training, skill training, resume training for the women. And I keep saying women because the men are not the refugees. We're going to do training from 6 to 10 every night so that we help you get a job. Not in the bank. I don't think it's fair to say we have to hire people, but we are going to help you get prepared. And then those are the people that can go into the jobs for Ukrainian, and now they've got some skills that we at the bank have used our services to help happen. Those are the kinds of examples that I see where we're using HR to help people be more successful.
Very insightful. Personalization, I mean, like, it's definitely a flexibility. If there is something that, like the last 2 years brought us, it's going to be, I also see it as a huge change of, looking at things. I like very much your insight about giving people flexibility, about choosing where they can add value to customers, how they can contribute. That's a major change. We also, what we see out there, on top of that, we see, we talk more and more about the impact of technology and big data, or better said, smart data, on the structure of jobs and our need as a profession to develop new skills and the so-called skills of the future.
Can I respond to that? Because I want to be very specific to the HR audience. We have studied HR skills. I'm going to now be very specific about the research. We have found there's 5 skills that you as an HR professional need to have. And I'll give you a 30-second history. We've always defined the skill as a noun: credible activist, strategic partner, change agent. So it was an adjective and a noun. The skills we just discovered are verbs. Let me do them 5. You should have the skills to accelerate the business. You should accelerate business. You should help make business happen. 2, to advance human capability, people, organization, and leadership. 3, you should have the skill to mobilize information. That's smart data. But it's not just analytics data, it's qualitative information, stories and experiences. So the first 3. accelerate the business, advance human capability, mobilize information, foster collaboration, help people work together. And the fifth one is to simplify complexity. So if I were to say to you, I'm an HR person, I want the skills to create value. Can I advance my business? Can I accelerate human capability? Can I mobilize information? Can I foster collaboration? And can I simplify complexity? Those are the skills we've seen that are critical for HR success.
That was exactly my question. Yeah, that's you read my mind. Let's put it that way. A lot of people are in HR, in the specialty jobs, are asking themselves these days if there will be a need for HR function in the future. What are the emerging jobs in HR that will shape the future of workforce? How do you see that? 5 essential skills which you mentioned, in my view, that will wherever you will be sitting in HR, you will need to have.
My sense is the human capability issues of talent, organization, and leadership are being talked about in every business meeting today. Let me say that again. And that's not just a humanitarian crisis. It's a company trying to do business in Africa, global expansion. It's a company trying to do digital transformation. Every business meeting I see, the business leaders are talking about, do we have the right people? Do we have the right culture and organization? Do we have the right leadership? Here's my advice to HR people. You want to be in that meeting. You want to be in that meeting. And you want to be the one that has the skills to say, what do we have to do to get the right people? We hire, we train. By the way, the systems are the same. We have to hire people. We have to train people. We have to pay people. We have to communicate. We have to build policies. The jobs are the same, but they're all built around getting talent that will succeed in the marketplace. We've got to shape a culture. How do we build a culture? We build a set of values, a set of principles that will help the customer see us as the right place to do business. We've got to build leadership. And so the jobs are the same, and I think they're going to increase. I think we're going to see an increase in human resource jobs around staffing and training and careers, employee experience, around compensation, around work policies, around OD. If you're a specialist, know how your specialty will create value for people, organization, and leadership. And now that you're in those meetings, participate.
Yeah.
Let business leaders know. And I'm going to give one other piece of advice. So I was on the call with somebody the other day and they said, I'm going to do that. I've got a diversity equity plan, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm going to go to the meeting and present it. And I said, no, that's not where you start. And they said, well, why not? And I said, you go to that meeting and your first question is, what do we have to do as a company to succeed in the marketplace? Do we have to cut costs?
Yeah.
Do we have to do innovation? Do we have to build partnerships? What is it going to take for customers to succeed and buy from us? Once we know that, then we say, for example, in this company she was with, it was a pharmaceutical company. We've got to have a new pipeline of products. Good. Diversity, equity, and inclusion will help us build the pipeline. Because my HR work will help us get what the business needs. And so the first question HR asks is not accept my HR tool. It's what do we have to do to succeed with our customers? And then we build the systems to help make that happen. This is such a great time for HR. And I've got to get one other point out, and you may have another question. I could talk to the two of you forever, and Dana as well, who's on the call. We live in a world of uncertainty, and this is kind of a philosophical thing. Nobody could have predicted 5 weeks ago where we would be today. Nobody could have predicted, given the crisis in the Ukraine. There is so much we don't know. And I'm going to do this, Andrea, without hopefully embarrassing you. I think you said you have a child or children?
One child, a 16-year-old son, Victor.
You don't know where he's going to go to school. You don't know who he's going to be in a relationship with. You don't know what he's going to study. You don't know where he's going to live. And I don't know, Mada, if you have children, but I do.
I have one, yes.
I could do the same. You don't know what their life's going to be. I don't. By the way, I'm going to get emotional with this because I have 3 children. It's the same question. But do you have a boy or a girl, Mada?
I have a girl, yeah, a girl.
What do you know about your son in the next 5 years? Let me tell you what I bet you know. You will love him. You will love him. You will love your daughter. There's nothing. By the way, my children are older than your children. They've tested me. Will you love me if I do something stupid? Not on purpose. And you know what? I will. Why do I say that? I think in a world of uncertainty, sometimes we get obsessed with what we don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to my company. I don't know where I may live. I don't know what skills I need. I encourage people who are listening to take care of yourself by returning to what you do know. I do know I have a set of values. I do know I'm going to work hard. I do know I'm going to serve a customer. I do know my company is going to try to create and adapt. I do know I will care for other people. When we focus on what we know, not what we don't know, the uncertainty is still there. It doesn't go away. But in the world of certainty, I can then begin to act with a little bit of confidence. I know I will love my son. I know I will love my son. And I'm betting in the next 5 years, he will do something silly and you will still love him. Maybe not for that instant, but you will. And I joke about that. By the way, I find that philosophy really helping me in the last 3 months because there's many things I don't know and I get all worried. Where am I going to work? How am I going to work? What am I going to do? The psychological safety comes when I stop and say, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to learn. I'm going to care for others. I'm going to try to help somebody every day. Good. Do those things. And the rest is okay. So I have to put that in is something I hope we in HR can model for others. Focus on what we know, not what we don't know.
That is very good advice, Dave. I think we will all appreciate it, and I think we all accept it as very insightful and useful advice because, sometimes we forget in the midst of everything that's going on around us. I think we all need this sort of safety net where, we come back to things that are close to our heart and our minds, and then we know we'll be fine.
And we may not be fine. I mean, we may be in a horrible circumstance, but I still know, look at Nelson Mandela in South Africa in jail for 20 years. He knew he would live his values. We all pray that this humanitarian crisis will quick. I don't know if it will. I just don't know. But I do know. Let me tell you what I know. I haven't shared this as publicly. I do know that there's a global HR community filled with people who want to help. I know that. I know that. And I know that if I reach out and say, would somebody help this person with training or skills? Or I think, by the way, we're going to see some cool stuff. This is my prediction in Romania. Some people in HR are going to wake up and go, woo, look at the skill base of these women in Romania. I don't know how many 100,000 women have come across the border in Romania. It's millions overall. We're going to go set up talent pools. You said the word, Mata, that was so good. We're going to go set up centers, technology centers, service centers, call centers. We were doing those in other countries. Romania, here we come. And I think we're going to have companies in the next 3 to 6 months starting to say, Romania is going to be the hottest spot for talent in the world because these Ukrainian women have been trained by the bank and by KPMG, who you open your training centers at night. You find creative ways to help these women get emotional stability. I think we're going to see companies talent's going to be the magnet. And I see Romania having an opportunity to become a talent magnet for companies around the world. And in the technology world, place is not the issue. You don't have to be in London. You don't have to be in Sydney, Australia. You can be anywhere. And I think if somebody can get their head around that, the opportunity, and by the way, that's my hope, is that the opportunity in Romania is to turn this obscene crisis into hope for the future. So that's the kind of vision that I know you share. I see it in your eyes, and people may not be able to see this video. I see it in your smiles. I feel it in your hearts and in your hands. And I really hope that the HR people who are listening will, even in the midst of this dark, dark, dark time, see a little candle of light that illuminates a path forward.
Role of HRBP, you are the father of the HR business partnering. How do you think this will change in the future? How is that impacted by, what's happening now and our role of preparing our people for, for the future and our organizations?
The idea of business partner is not about the structure. Do you have centers of expertise? It's about the relationship. We've just done some really interesting research. What does an HR department have to be good at to create value for the customer and investor of the bank? We studied 9 things. The 2 most critical things that an HR department should be good at to create value for customer. Number 1, have a reputation of helping customers succeed. It's your reputation, it's your identity, it's your image. By the way, I was disappointed because I thought the whole reputation is outside in. It's also a reputation for getting things done. We still have to get the trains to run on time. It doesn't matter if I build a train track to a great location if the train doesn't get there. So the reputation has to be both getting things done and having the value created. That's number one. The second thing that was most critical for a good HR department, relationships. How well do we work with each other? You know, a lot of people thought about, Andrea, that HR business partner, it's specialists working with generalists, centers of expertise. I'll give an example. And I've been in a relationship with my wife for 45 years. A lot of people, that's a long time. A lot of people, and she is so patient. And by the way, it worked well when I traveled more, because the more I traveled, the better the relationship was. But a lot of people in our field want to do what's called RASI, responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. Who's responsible, who's accountable, and get role clarity. In 45 years, my wife and I have never done a RASI. Sunday night, who's going to shop? Who's going to fix food? Who's going to clean the house? Who's going to pay the bills? We have a relationship. 2 weeks ago, my wife was really busy, and I saw a busy week. So I said, I'll buy the food. I'm going to do laundry, and I'm going to do shopping. And she said, thank you. Next week, I'm really busy, so she's going to do it. I beg of us in HR, don't get locked into your role. Get locked into a relationship. Somebody calls out and says, Mud, I've got a KPMG project. We're in crisis. I need your help. And it's not because of your role. It's because we have, so your reputation and your relationship are the things you want to build. And I think we're going to see more of that. And the other thing I'm going to reinforce, the HR business partner model is so simple. At the business discussion today, talent, organization, and leadership, I call it human capability, are being talked about. I plead my HR colleagues be in that room. What's the latest way we can manage our people? What can we do to build the right organizational culture? And what can we do to have leadership? That's what being a business partner is.
Very insightful. Yeah. So we go back to, like adding value to customers and the quality of the relationship you manage to build.
And the one thing, and by the way, the last 4 weeks have highlighted it. You just said it, and I've got to correct myself. We add value to customers. The metaphor is outside in. We add values to those outside the firm, customer, investor. Yeah. And we've written about that. I think in the last 4 weeks, we've added the third piece, which is society as a whole. That's the humanitarian crisis. Yeah. I was in a session yesterday. Oh, it was fascinating. Quick story. Tencent is one of the biggest companies in China. They got criticized because people were playing video games too much. And Tencent builds video games. So the government got mad at Tencent for building video games that children played. Tencent now has said one of our critical stakeholders outside the company is society. They have a new philosophy, technology for good. And they've now put a cap that you can put on your video games that your children can only play for an hour a day. I see other companies starting to say in this humanitarian crisis, we're not only going to serve our customer, we're going to serve our investor, we're going to serve our society. And we are going to do HR for good. That's the humanitarian crisis. We're going to help these 12 women get jobs so that they can care for their families. We're going to build jobs for Ukrainians. We're going to do things that help society, not just others. And I think, again, the stakeholders, customer, no question. If you don't succeed with them, you fail. Investors, and I think society is going to be the third stakeholder that we end up serving in a very, very good way. And I just saw that yesterday. I hadn't known they did that. They say, we're now at Tencent doing technology for good. And we're cutting our profits to put money into schools and education so that the society gets a benefit.
Yeah, is there any other final thoughts you have for our
I'm going to ask you a question. I've always asked the interview, what gives you hope for the HR community in Romania and broader? What gives you hope? What gives you hope for the community?
I mean, for me, what gives me hope is that the HR community gets together and, it gets together to serve a higher purpose. On the one hand, to support internally their own organization, their own people, their own leaders, but then we stick together when necessary to serve, the wider community, the society in general. And I think, we need to probably work more on it. We sometimes, as we saw in this Ukrainian crisis and in the pandemics, the community came together and worked together to find solutions, to share best practices, to really do things for the wider community. But I think maybe we need to do even more and to coagulate even more the community to do better for the wider society.
Nice. Andreea, what gives you hope?
What gives me hope? Our ability to to adapt to new circumstances. I think the last 2 years has been our greatest test of adjusting our ways of doing things. I think there is, personally, I discovered not only in our organization but around everybody, people have an amazing capability to reinvent themselves, and I think it's a huge untapped potential for our people. To Mara's point, the spirit of solidarity. There was the common enemy, the COVID. Now we have the war in Ukraine. I think there is huge potential in the communities to put all their efforts and to act together for the greater good.
I'm going to give maybe a final thought, then I hope I don't offend with this, but I love what you've just said. I'm going to tell a story, and you'll be surprised where the story is. In history, there's a time when there was a country that was occupied by an occupier. And so there was an occupier who occupied that country. The people in that country wanted freedom. We all want freedom. By the way, we value freedom more than we've ever seen it. A person came and he said, "I'm here to free you." And everybody said, "Yes, our occupier will go away." What the person said to the people is, "That's not the freedom I give. I give you a sense of personal peace." This is the story of Jesus. And you don't have to be a Christian. Christ came and the Jews thought he would free them from the Roman rule. He did not. He said, "The peace and by the way, I triggered that matter with your comment and with Andreea, your comment. The peace I give with you is not as the world giveth. I'm not going to give you political freedom, but I give you hope because of your values and who you are." And so again, that's not about the religion, and I'm not here to preach a religion, but I love that metaphor from a great teacher. The hope that I give you is not in the world. The hope that I give you is in your heart. Inside. And I think that's the message of this great teacher, Jesus, and nobody can deny what a great message. I can't get you free from the Romans, but I can, and we can't make you free from the Russians right now. We'd love to. We do everything in our power. If we could wave a wand, we do it. But I can give you hope in yourself. And when I listen to the two of you and I hear the stories of the Romanian HR colleagues to step up, the best is yet ahead. There is a hope through that peace in ourselves. I hope that religious metaphor didn't offend. It's actually a story that struck me as you were speaking. Thank you. No. I have hope through you.
Thank you so much, Dave, for making yourself available, and leaving us with such a powerful final thought. We are extremely grateful, that you were with us today. I'm sure our entire community will enjoy massively your podcast. And what can I say? I am religious. May God help us, to stay healthy and safe during these difficult times. And we hope to see you sometime soon, physically in Romania.
I would love it. And may God bless us all.
Thank you very much. God bless us.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a
Thank
lot.
you so
very,
much,
very
Dave.
grateful.
Tocmai ce ai ascultat un episod special HR Club Talks. Share-uiește cu prietenii tăi noul episod și nu uita, poți asculta întreaga serie de episoade pe YouTube, Spotify sau orice aplicație de podcast. Vrem să știm părerea, așadar te invităm să ne scrii pe orice rețea social media HR Club și dă-ne un follow, pregătim noi surprize. Pe curând, dragilor!
HR Club Talks, powered by Interact.